They say life can change in an instant. One moment, you're cruising down the road, feeling the wind against your skin, and the next, you're lying in a hospital bed, unable to move, trapped inside your own body. My name is Ethan John, and in the last 2 years, I have experienced unimaginable pain, betrayal, and despair, but also hope, justice, and redemption. This is my story. It all started on a beautiful spring afternoon. I was riding my motorcycle down Highway 17, feeling the warmth of the sun and the freedom that came with the open road. I had always loved motorcycles. It was my escape from the stress of my job as a mechanical engineer. Then, out of nowhere, a truck driver, seemingly unaware of my presence, pulled out onto the highway. I had no time to react. The impact was catastrophic. I don't remember much of the accident itself. Just a blur of metal, the screech of tires, and then darkness. When I woke up in the hospital, I immediately knew something was wrong. I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I couldn't even lift a finger. Panic surged through me, but my body refused to respond. I could only blink, my mind screaming inside a prison of flesh and bone. The doctors told me I had suffered a severe spinal cord injury, paralyzed, from the neck down. They said I was lucky to be alive. But at that moment, I didn't feel lucky at all. I was a broken man, utterly dependent on my wife, Laura, who I had loved with all my heart. At first, she was there for me. She stayed by my bedside, holding my hand, whispering words of comfort. But something in her eyes had already changed. At the time, I thought it was grief. I was wrong. After 6 months in the hospital, I was finally discharged and brought back home, but my home no longer felt like home. Laura had rearranged everything. My office had been turned into a makeshift hospital room, complete with medical equipment, a hospital bed, and a monitor to check my vitals. The master bedroom, the one I had shared with my wife, was now hers alone. At first, she tried to care for me, but it was obvious she wasn't up to the task. The burden was too great, and soon she started pulling away. That's when Greg Wallace stepped in. Greg was our next-door neighbor, someone I had once considered a friend. He worked at the same law firm as my wife and had always been a little too friendly, a little too eager to help. At first, I was grateful. He drove Laura to work, helped her run errands, and even arranged for a home nurse to check on me during the day. But something felt off. Then late one night I heard them. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But as the days passed, the truth became impossible to ignore. Laura and Greg were having an affair, in our home, in our bed, and I could do nothing but listen. The betrayal was devastating, but what came next was even worse. Greg started taunting me. He would come into my room, stand over me, and whisper about how much better he was for Laura. He even installed a monitor in my room so I could watch while he slept with my wife. Then the abuse began. It started as verbal, mocking, cruel words, meant to break my spirit. But soon, it became physical. He would touch me, shove me, grab me, knowing I couldn't fight back. For 4 months, I lived in a waking nightmare. I wanted to scream. I wanted to fight. I wanted to die. But fate had other plans. One day, everything changed. Dr. Franklin Victor walked into my life. Dr. Victor was a brilliant but mysterious scientist who ran a cutting-edge research facility on Lake Arrowhead. He had heard about my case and believed he could restore my mobility, using experimental 3D printed vertebrae and nerve regeneration implants. He offered me a choice: stay in my miserable existence, trapped in my useless body. Take a chance on a revolutionary procedure that could give me back my life. I didn't hesitate. I blinked once, my only way of saying yes. Laura didn't even argue. Maybe she thought I was beyond saving. Maybe she just wanted me out of the way. I didn't care. For the first time in months, I had hope. The surgery was a success. Within days, I could wiggle my fingers, Then I could move my toes. By the end of the first month, I was standing again. By the second month, I was walking, and with every step I knew I was coming back. When I was strong enough, I went to the police. With Dr. Victor's evidence, the authorities built a case against Greg. When they arrested him, he laughed in their faces, until they showed him the DNA evidence, until they played the video footage. From the hidden cameras he forgot to disable. Until they told him that I, the man he thought he had destroyed, was standing in court, ready to testify against him. The jury didn't take long. Greg Wallace was sentenced to 450 years in prison. Laura, who had been willing to let me rot while she ran off with Greg, was sentenced to 15 years. I filed for divorce. She didn't even fight it. By the time the judge banged his gavel, I was free. But my story doesn't end there. During my time at Dr. Victor's facility, I met Megan, a nurse who saw me as a man, not just a patient. She was kind. She was strong. She made me feel alive again. When I was finally discharged, Megan came home. With me. 6 months later, we were married. A year after that, she gave birth to our first child. Today, we have 3 wonderful kids, a beautiful home, and a love that grows stronger with each passing year. As I look back on my journey, I realize something profound. Every storm runs out of rain. Yes, I suffered. Yes, I lost everything. But in the end, I gained more than I ever could have imagined. And for that, I will be forever grateful. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, yet please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.